Fear just doesn't win out, period, as far as I'm concerned. Nobody can avoid the truth forever. If the human species doesn't survive, well, I would like it to survive. It's nice. I like it as it's going. But, as far as I've seen in the history of the world, there's almost no species that survives forever. And if we don't do the job, if our consciousness doesn't evolve, life or existence will just go, well, that didn't work too well, you're out. And I don't mean that to sound as casually as I put it, like, you're out, because there will be a lot of blood and suffering and difficulty, in that process. So I don't mean it as casually as I sound it. But underneath, I know that life takes care of itself. There's nothing in me that's afraid that, like, somehow we'll all just go into this terrible abyss and nobody will ever make it out. But having said that, that's not an excuse to then just go unconscious. Like, since that's the way it will be, then I won't do anything. I won't be involved. That's a spiritual kind of cop-out. But when you come from that place, see, then we're not coming from a place of fear again. It keeps arising, And to me, I never find in this that we are, the spirit that we are, words like what we must do, or what like it's telling us, like, somehow we have to do this or we have to do that. It's just, to me, I see it as more, it's in the nature, within the nature of spirit, within the nature of the sacred, to do this, to lean this way. Its nature is to, its nature is to awaken. Its nature is towards love. Its nature is towards unity or harmony. That's in its nature. So that's where that's what it does. It just seems as though we keep getting to these points of crisis. Crises are often the catalysts for change. And I think as humanity, as in general, I think we can all start to agree. I hope we're starting to agree that we're coming to a point of crisis. That we're coming into a contact, not with just our own personal mortality, but our mortality as a species. That we as a species may not survive. And that can provide, just like individual mortality can lead to a change of consciousness, because we realize time's run out. There's no more time. So in that no more time, sometimes consciousness can shift. And as humanity, I think we're rapidly approaching that same kind of imperative. Time is running out. And so quite naturally, there's tremendous pressure on humanity, on humanity's consciousness right now. We all feel it, right? This tremendous pressure to evolve, to awaken, because somehow intuitively everyone knows if there's not some rather dramatic shift in consciousness, then this opportunity will be missed. So the teaching of allow everything to be as it is just reverses the process. Because you can't win the war with your mind. You can't outsmart your mind, because it's your mind outsmarting itself. That's not going to work. That's a contradiction. And when you see that you can't outsmart yourself, thinking can't outthink thinking, that it won't work that way. There's a tilt. Tilt, like a pinball goes on tilt and all of a sudden it doesn't work. When you see this clearly enough, there's sort of a tilt in your mind, and the struggle stops, because you perceive from your own experience that all the struggle actually just makes you more caught in the thing you're struggling against. So even though it's completely counterintuitive, even though it goes against every instinct that we have, it's possible to come to see that the only way to get out of the dream state, the trap of egoic consciousness, is to allow it to be as it is, completely. Because as soon as you allow it to be as it is, as soon as it is allowed completely to be, and I mean at any moment, so it might as well be this moment, just to experiment, as soon as you allow this moment or any other moment to completely be, in other words, you don't try to solve the dilemma of being caught in it. It's very counterintuitive, right? As soon as you don't try to solve it and you completely allow it to be, then there's nothing for the mind to grasp onto. There's nothing for the mind lives on resistance. Right? That's what it lives on. The egoic mind. I'm not talking about the intelligent mind that, does higher mathematics and figure things out at your job and all of that. Practical mind. We're not talking about practical mind. I'm talking about the other 95% of the time. Right? The other 95% of the time isn't really practical at all. It's quite chaotic. And so, when there's no effort to escape from it, you've denied the egoic state of consciousness the one thing it needs to remain in a trance state. It needs struggle. It must struggle. It has to struggle, otherwise consciousness will start to wake up or leave the trance state of egoic consciousness, all by itself. So in other words, consciousness doesn't need any help in waking up from egoic consciousness. You can't help it. Everything you do to help it actually hinders it. But only everything. Everything. That includes what you're doing. The one or two people out there that are thinking he's talking about everybody else, but not about me. You're the one I'm talking about. I want to talk to you. If you think you're excluded, right? Because if you think your mind is any different from anybody else's, you got another thing coming. Right? It may not come today, but it's coming.
I'm giving you here in one little talk the entire essence of what spirituality really is all about. And that's what it is. There's not much else that you need to know beyond that in the sense of knowledge, accumulated knowledge. It is now a question of living that. And if you don't want to live it, that's fine. It means you have to suffer a bit more until you're ready to make this shift, until the shift begins to happen. A human being needs to reach the point of readiness where they say, okay, I've done enough madness, I've suffered enough, I'm ready for the shift. I'm ready to say, okay, this moment is all there ever is. I might as well become friendly with it. Acknowledge it, give it attention, in whatever form it comes. Because the form is not the moment. It's the form that this moment takes, the now. It's not what happens. The now is not what happens. It's the space in which it happens.
The only thing is most people don't know that they are consciousness. They think consciousness is something that happens to them or something that they possess or something that they are doing, not something that they actually are. That's the shift. And that happens just by giving your attention to consciousness. Giving your attention, not your thoughts, that's not necessary. Not trying to figure out what it is, that's not necessary. Just giving your attention. That's all you have to do. That's all you got to do. And then from that attention, with that question, what am I really? There comes that shift. You don't make that shift happen, it just happens. It just happens. That shift of consciousness, just because you've given attention to it, that shift of consciousness happens, and all of a sudden there's that realization, oh, this consciousness, this awareness, this presence, this stillness is what I am. It's not something I'm looking into or trying to grasp. It's actually the essence of one's being. That shift.